weekly breakfast of insights, tips and tricks, and general information that will help anyone trying to move things forward in this digital world of accounting. This week, I'm joined by Siobhan Wilkes, Product Director at Taxcalc, to talk about their new biometric checks. So before I try and explain this and get it horribly wrong, Siobhan, what is this all about?
So the biometric checks basically are a check that you can perform sort of remotely to your client just to check their identity, to verify their identity document, to check that they are live and present and that their image matches to that of the ID document. So basically we have options in our software where you can run the checks. They get sent to your client who you want to run the check for. Your client goes through the process. We've partnered with Credas to offer the solution. So they'll run through the process via the app or the website and fill in some details, take their selfie, take the ID photo, and that result comes back to the accountant to sort of see the results of the check and whether they've passed or failed that check.
Okay, and is this all about kind of onboarding new clients, or both onboarding and I guess that continual due diligence with existing clients?
Yeah, so basically it allows you to verify an individual sort of the ID document they're presenting to you is real and that they are that individual who's presenting that. So if you are sort of like in today's world more, you're not necessarily meeting the clients, you need to have more of confidence there that that individual is who they say they are and that the ID document they are presenting you with is real. So obviously using the identity software allows for those checks to be done by the software and gives sort of a higher confidence that they are genuine documents. They do various checks. We can do the NFC chips read. So in your passport, you know, you've got the got an old passport here because I've been doing lots of sort of checks. It's got the picture there which tells you it has the biometric details, which is the NFC chip. So yeah, it can use that as part of its verification for the ID being genuine, so for your passport. So basically, I suppose if you are doing an onboarding check like you asked for there, if you for AML purposes, you don't have to use identity software to do those checks, but if you do that, it allows you to and it's another step of verification, basically, to allow you to be more confident that the ID document they're providing you with is real and genuine, and they are a real person and matched to that identity document.
That makes complete sense. And obviously, I guess we've been doing AML and ID checks as accountants for a long time now. But why, I guess, at this point in time, as Taxcalc decided this is important that you have this in your system?
Yeah, so back in the sort of the start of this year and the end of last year, Companies House obviously started talking about their identity verification standard, which they wanted every individual on the register to be verified. So as part of the UCCT Act, they implemented the requirement to do this. So basically, as of 18th of November this month, or I've moved over to December now. So they want all individuals on the register, any new individuals, any existing individuals on the register, to be verified to the Companies House standard. So any director or PSC needs to be verified to the Companies House standard. So as a result of that, and the Companies House standard requiring IDVT software and being able to sort of measure the cryptographic features of documents, like we talked about there with the passport.
Yep.
We wanted to bring in a solution that people could do that. So within our software, we have an AML product too. So obviously, as part of the AML onboarding process, we had people ask for us to do the biometric identity checks. So we've got an option for people to do that there, and then also run the biometric checks as an additional verification for any AML onboarding, but also like primarily for the Companies House standard there, you can run the checks and meet the standard there.
So does this mean this just it's a kind of seamless flow? Once it's going through your AML process, there's like a trigger where it will then seamlessly, to some extent, send this requirements across to the client for them to complete themselves, and it just comes back with verification. Is that essentially how it works?
Yeah, so as part of the client due diligence, obviously you'll know there's an identification stage, and there's certain, from an AML perspective, certain verification you can go through to prove someone is who they say they are, prove their address is a real one, prove that they are, you know, real. So we currently do AML checks where you can check against authoritative sources that the person is sort of real, against electoral register, check their address is a real address against similar sort of things, and then obviously that forms part of the verification of an individual as part of your client due diligence. And in a similar place, you can then run a biometric check if you wish to be able to further verify from an AML perspective, or you can run it if you're obviously onboarding them and you know that you're going to need to verify them to the company's house standard. They're a new director, let's say, then you can do that as well. We have specific checks within the biometric options where you can say it's for a company's house check. So,
Okay.
and it will ask the extra information. There is some information required for the company's house standard that for AML compliance is not necessarily required. So, company's house ask for sort of address history, and if you know you've changed addresses, they suggest you might want to see proof of name changes if they have changed their name, I say got married or whatever. So we have a specific company's house journey which will allow you to retrieve that information as well. So when you choose the company's house journey, it'll ask for previous address history, it will ask for multiple addresses if you've, or sort of address verification if you have moved address. It'll ask for the document to prove that your name change if you've changed your name, and
makes sense.
Yeah, so all that information as part of that company's house flow will be sort of asked for if you choose the company's house journey, and then delivered back to you in a sort of a summary PDF with all the images and information they've filled in, and got the option there to sort of download all of the images to store in your client file if you want to be able to sort of store the identity passport
in a secure way.
Yeah.
I always feel that that's the bit that concerns me. Like whenever I guess I've gone down the traditional, like pre-digital route, and we'd be getting copies of passports, and like we're now storing them on our side, that always felt like high risk. So I assume best practice to some extent, do you think is that it's retained inside your secure platform rather than downloaded, or do you think that actually clients or accounting firms should extract it and put it in their practice management system? Or you
I suppose it depends from a customer's perspective how secure where they are storing it is. Obviously, from an accessibility point of view, you want to have everything in the same place, don't you? So if you're storing all your client details and records in a file storage system, it makes sense for them to be able to download it there. If you're a smaller practice perhaps and you don't necessarily like to store everything inside the product, you know, then yeah, it makes sense to do that. So I suppose we've given the option there, dependent on how just so that, you know, because the check document has obviously sort of selfies in it and things like that. You may not necessarily want to store on a client file, but you might want to store the identity document, let's say, on the client file.
I could understand like a summary page, right? That's saying everything that's been done as a backup, just in case they ever leave kind of the platform, right? You still have that.
Yeah, but you can save that somewhere.
Yeah, my viewpoint on kind of passwords, etc., is why do I need that? I've done the check now. That's the purpose that I need that for. I kind of want that ring fence to some extent in a very secure system that essentially is acting as that secure portal between you and the client. You're managing that interface, taking it away from unsecure channels into a secure one. And so, if they've got that ability to download a report, that makes more sense to me. Obviously, you've given them the ability to download everything if there's that preference. I think my viewpoint on best practice would keep as much as you can inside the identity system. But say that, you know, we're doing this for new clients. Have you got a streamlined way that this can be rolled out across existing clients, especially with these new, I guess, security requirements?
Yeah, like the company's house standard. See, what I was going to say is that the company's house standard does require you to retain the records for 7 years. That's as part of your ACSP registration. You have to be registered as an ACSP to be able to verify any individuals. And maybe I'll just talk about, I know you did ask another question, but talk about the process
Okay.
slightly there in that you'll ask the client to fill in the information inside in the check. That comes back to you. You can see the documents that have been returned and just overview of that. So you look at that. But then Companies House don't have a service where we can remotely tell them that you have verified that individual. So you do need to log on to the Companies House system with, I suppose, the information that has been retrieved there and confirm that you have verified them. So you don't need to provide passport images onto that sort of verification, but you do need to enter like passport numbers and just details to sort of indicate that you actually have seen those documents and verified them. So and once you've filled in that information on the Companies House website, the personal code will be sent to the individual. So it doesn't get sent to the accountant, unfortunately. It's part of Companies House process. They think that's their data individual, and so that gets sent to them, and then it will need to be sent back to the accountant. So you can you can submit the CSO1, whatever you're doing for them that requires the personal code there.
And does that your process? No, that's right. And does that process streamline that? Right? Is that
sorry, that's what you asked. Yeah. So you we have an AML product, we have a practice management product, and as part of our sort of simple step routine, there's an option in there for AML compliance, and within there is the biometric check. So you can go in there, click on the check, obviously it gets sent to the client, it comes back, like I said, and then you'd fill it in. So process itself is a shame that Companies House haven't provided a service where you can remotely sort of confirm that you've verified an individual, but you do have to, any way that you have verified them, you will have to go onto their website and confirm the verification there. So I think we streamline it in so much as that it's in the software there, it's part of their normal sort of routine of going in and being in the client record and can be sent by there. And the checks are sent, you can see the status updates and how they're running and if they've started them or if they've received the email. And then obviously the results when they come back are all there and stored there for them to be able to see. So yeah.
And when you refer to practice management system, are you referring to Engager, or is this a
no? So currently our Taxcalc. So we are obviously like we talked about at our Fusion event last week, integrating with Engager and making the seamless sort of integration there. So the clients can be synced between the two records now, and I think in the coming winter release you'll be able to open up Engager from practice management. But we haven't integrated the biometric checks directly into Engager just yet. So that's something we'll do.
That's fine, because I think, and correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, if you know it, that Engager used to come off use Zama for
they do
AML.
use Zama. You're right.
Yeah.
They do use Zama. So yeah, they do have tight integration with Zama there.
Yeah, and is your intention to kind of blend your new system into the Engager process, which means they might not need Zama going forward, or is it that you're going to keep those separate, or have you not really decided?
No, we would like to integrate the biometric checks into Zama so that people can have a choice there to be able to use that if that suits them. So so that they can run the checks sort of directly from Engager rather than at the moment. Obviously, we haven't offered something. If they've got Taxcalc, they could use Taxcalc and Engager and sync and run the checks via Taxcalc. But they certainly can't run the biometric checks at the moment in Engager. So it's something we'd look to implement.
And do you have a timeline? I don't know if I know it's things people hate giving, right? Is when things may come out. But is it in your plan? Is it that because I know sometimes it's an idea but hasn't really kind of got to the formal plan, or are you now that part is formalized even if you can't say when?
It is something we're doing, but we've got a lot of things going on currently with Engager and trying to increment the functionality in terms of the integration between the two. So it's just timing of when we do it really inside of all the other priorities that we've got there. So
that makes sense. I always ask these questions because there's that broader now you're one group. It's like, where does this sit? Where's the flow sit, and who does this benefit? And is this biometric checks part of the package platform? My guess is not, because they normally, if you're piggybacking off another system, there's additional cost. So how do you charge for this?
Yeah, so we basically charge per check. We've got bundles of checks that people can buy. So our initial checks, for 10 of them, it starts off at £35. So for £3.50 a check at that level, and they get slightly cheaper if you buy bigger bundles. So yeah, it's quite reasonable. But yeah, like you say, because obviously we are going to a third-party system, we obviously are paying for that. So it's not something we could offer for free as part of the existing package.
No, it makes sense. And I think that's standard approach generally, like throughout the industry.
Yeah.
And from that bundling, so say that they know over the course of the year, like from our normal engagements and where we are with, I guess, getting our client bank up to a certain level, can they front load commit to a certain number and then spread that cost over months, or is it they just have to pay it all in one lump sum?
Yeah, so you can buy any of our packages, and at a certain level you can pay them by direct debit monthly, so you can spread the cost over the 12-month license period there, rather than having to pay it all up front. I think there is a minimum spend, but yeah. So if you're buying 35 checks, 10
Up
checks
front.
only up front for £35,
Yeah, it's not going to be really
that
worth
isn't
it.
something we could allow somebody
Spread.
to pay monthly on. But
No,
but yeah, there
I
is
can
that
understand that.
option to pay monthly there. Yeah,
And the other thing that I guess starting to get more into detail here is during the AML process, a lot of the time you've got each firm has their own kind of risk matrix, certain questions they like to ask, because
yeah,
everything's based on judgment to some extent, right? And
yeah,
we've
yeah,
got
yeah,
our
risk, yeah.
yeah. So do you have that flexibility in the system? Do you have that automated escalation process where it goes across to the MLRO where they need to review it? Is that all built in?
Yeah. So as part of our AML product, you get an overview of all of your clients. You've got your client due diligence. So within the client due diligence, you have your sort of identification stage where you can sort of document all of the elements of the identification and run the verification. But also run the risk assessment for the client there. So you can run the risk assessment and then pass that to review to the MLRO or another person in the business. So and actually it's quite customizable, our systems, in terms of we have a default set of sort of risk assessment questions that covers all of the sort of areas set out in the sort of CCAB guidance or the recommendations from Money Laundering Act, and it the geography section and then the all the different questions are set out there. And they can be customized if you have a sort of a recommended set of questions that you might have from your accountancy body that you might be regulated by for money laundering, and you can use those. So yeah, and wherever you answer any of the questions, you can sort of have the initial risk, sort of a resultant risk after you've mitigated it, or put in the measures to be able to mitigate any of the risks. So it's quite comprehensive in that respect, in that it allows you to sort of document all that and set the questions if there are ones where you specifically as a business have a particular risk that you want to sort of make sure is highlighted as part of a client due diligence. Then you can add those questions in so that they come up on each of them. So it's not fixed into giving you a set of questions that can't necessarily be added to or changed.
Yeah, there's a flexibility there, and you've got those kind of auto routing to some extent, like for where it needs to go to, that escalation process.
Exactly.
To the system.
Yeah, and we do the.
Okay, carry on.
No, I was just going to say we do the firm-wide risk assessment as part of our ML product as well. So obviously that's something that sometimes people, whilst they might be performing the client due diligence and understand that, they might sort of forget that the firm also needs to be have the risks assessed as well as part of the Money Laundering Act. So you can do that in a similar way. And any of these checks, they can be rolled over from one year to the next, so that you can start from the previous, or if you're measuring the risk more often, the client's more risky, then obviously they can just roll over there.
And does that come with reminders inside the system? So, like, is there notifications say you need to do? Because that's the bit that I always found is the ongoing due diligence is the bit that always gets forgotten. So, have you kind of got that centralized platform or reminder thing where it's like, okay, these are the ones that should be done, and these are the ones that may be behind, and kind of notifications? Have you got any of that in the system?
Well, what you can do in the system is we have a sort of, in the AML products, you have like an overview of all of your clients, and you can see each of the stages of the due diligence when they were done, what sort of so the identification stage, and with that passed, the risk assessment and the status of that, and then the AML checks that we currently do, I talked about, and then the verification stage for the biometrics that we've added on. So you can see it all as an overview. When you run a check, you can set yourself a reminder to do the next one. Obviously, dependent on the risk of the client, it might be that, you know, if it's a sort of normal client that is not very risky, you might do the client due diligence sort of every year. So you can set the cadence there in the reminders as to when you want to next do it. So yeah, you can set the reminders there once you perform this year. If you want to do it in another 6 months or 12 months, set a reminder for you to do that within our workflow system.
Makes sense. Cool. And I guess the final bit I want to pick up on is, why did you decide to do this directly? Because whenever you're deciding what you're going to build, and you were talking, kind of referencing this earlier, when like, what's the priority we've been building this into Engager, is you can build or you can partner, like to get, you know, a flow coming directly in. So why in this specific area did you decide to build rather than partnering kind of? And I guess to some extent you've partnered, right? Because you're wrapping around another system, but you've still done the code and the interface for it to be more dynamic.
I think we obviously want to provide a service to our customers that integrates with their current workflows and is easy for them to be able to sort of seamlessly put it into their existing workflows and make sure that they can do it without having to, you know, sort of I suppose, make it too difficult for them. So we obviously wanted to put the options into our software, and we partnered with Credas because we wanted to have someone who was an expert in the identification field. It wasn't something that we necessarily wanted to sort of take on not being experts in the field. So obviously we partnered with those so they can provide that to us, but we can then also obviously link in. They provided a service where we could, you know, just link into them and customize areas of the journey, so it was sort of suitable for our customers to be able to deliver to their clients. So I think what we've got is there's something that is seamlessly sort of integrated into the existing software. The checks can run to their clients. You can customize. So we've customized the emails that go, so they've got the accountant's name on them, so they can be identified as coming from that accountant who's requested them, and the journey itself via Credas' app or website, depending on which journey you choose, is seamless and works well. So I think overall it's it's a good solution really for people to be able to run directly from our software, and a good experience for their clients receiving the checks and being able to get the results of those back.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. And I think, look, the other key, I guess, consideration is security, right? This is a very sensitive area, and to make sure that's locked down and provide confidence is to put it all in one place. And AML and I guess, you know, security checks is not the sexiest of areas, let's be honest, but it is a requirement. It is something that everyone has to do. Exactly. So it's incredibly important that people are on top of this. And you're seeing so many, I guess, businesses, individuals now experiencing a really slick process in other realms, that if as accountants we don't provide that, we're going to look very outdated, let's say. I'm sorry, there's someone at my door that's hollering at me. So I may need to draw. It's all right. It's just dropped it off. It's always difficult when you're on a live show, right? So I think, like, realistically, this is something we need to be doing. Like any system, if you're still doing this manually, you are behind the times and giving a pretty bad first experience to your potential client base as you bring them in. So having a modern and digital and also really easy way for your clients to hand over what is sensitive data, I think is critical.
Yeah, because sending it by emails is a little less secure, isn't it? People don't want to be sending their passport photos and details across email to them.
No.
So being able to use something where it's secure and can be securely transmitted between the client and the accountant is something that you should be doing, really. So yeah, it makes that whole process sort of, I suppose the trigger to implement this, the checks was the requirement from Companies House, because we knew that forced people to doing it. But obviously from an AML perspective and onboarding perspective, it allows people to be able to onboard them in a slick way as well, and be able to retrieve those documents in a secure way.
It does. Look, John, thank you so much for coming on and talking us through this. If people wanted to find out more, or I guess explore this in specific detail, what's the best way to do that? How do they get in contact?
So we have, obviously we're quite transparent with our prices. We have the details on our website, so you can go directly to our website and buy from there if you are interested in buying from those. If you want to speak to somebody, if you go to the website again, there's a get a quote sort of option, and we'll get one of the salespeople to contact you and talk you through what we've got and any prices and things. So, but yeah, like I said, all the prices are on the website. That's the price, one price for everybody. We don't charge differently if you contact the salespeople. So yeah, it's taxcalc.com, our website, and there's prices there for all of our products, and the get a quote if you want to salespeople to contact them.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for coming on. And for anyone that is listening, if you do want to, I guess, find out more, you know what to do. And if you do want to make sure you catch these shows every week, please do subscribe to the Digital Disruptors channel, and you'll get a notification when we go live every Thursday at 9 a.m. So once again, thank you, Siobhan, and to everyone, I hope you catch us next week.
See you later. Thank you very much.